My name is Alejandro Finol, and I'm a fourth-year architecture student at Cornell University. I lived in a couple of different places throughout my lifetime. I've lived in Venezuela, in Costa Rica, in Miami, and in New York. And it always struck me odd how when I'd arrive to a new place, people would always try and label you an outsider. Whether it be in Costa Rica, people would call me American, or in the United States, people would call me Latino. The problem with this was that they weren't looking at the bigger picture. I'm not just Venezuelan, I'm not just Costa Rican, I'm not just American. I'm all of these things. And I think that's what's made me different. It's that I've experienced all these different cultures, and in some way or another they've changed me and my perception of the world. In a similar way that I don't think I'm defined by a single nationality, I think that architecture can't really be defined by a single design decision. Architecture is an intense negotiation of tons of different aspects. Things like site condition, accessibility, sustainability, materiality, program. All these things need to really work together in perfect harmony to really create a beautiful piece of architecture. Usually the first step that I take when designing is to do a lot of research and precedent analysis. I think it's really difficult to curate a beautiful space that deals with all the needs of the client without first really understanding what the community you're building for is and what the building needs to serve that community. Then I usually make a lot of sketches and iterations of models. And I try to look at the program and how it's going to work together and how different parts are going to relate to each other. The next step involves making a 3D model in a program like Rhinoceros, which will let me look at problems such as materiality and accessibility through the use of renderings and visualizations. Architects have this ability to make people emote and feel, and that's why the last step in my design process is always to try and make a space memorable. Create something that people are going to want to come back to. The project that I'm submitting is a proposal for a community boathouse in Ithaca, New York, which is located at the south end of Cayuga Lake. A boathouse is a very specific building typology that's related to the sport of rowing, and it has a lot of programmatic specificities, such as it needs storage space for these 60-foot long boats. It also needs locker rooms, it needs gyms, workout spaces, and really the most important thing it needs is this ramp that descends out into the water that's called the launching pad. Living in Costa Rica, I was never really exposed to the culture of rowing, so early on I focused on understanding what it meant to be a rower. Once I understood these athletes and their passion for their sport, the challenge for me as a designer became how to both accommodate their physical and practical needs as well as their experiential needs within one structure. So my proposal ended up being this design which included creating this shell-like enclosure which would mimic the experiential sensation of rowing in Cayuga Lake. When you row there, you're surrounded by hills in all directions. There's no gaps in this landscape. The idea in this design was to apply that condition to the scale of a building. Within the shell, there would be various floors of program, and there would be this winding walkway that would connect all of these different floors. The idea of these walkways was to enable communication through different levels within the building. The shell would both stop distractions from the outside coming in and also amplify the ability of the community to communicate within the space. The only place where the shell was not continuous was on the bottom floor, and that move was to highlight the very strong connection between the building and the water. I think good design is one that makes an individual stop and look around. Many people walk throughout their lives and are completely unaware of their surroundings, but a good architect will make you stop and look up and see what's around you. And that's something that I look to achieve in every project, and I think I was able to achieve it in this one.